Yes, my lords, my ladies, your worships, members of the bar, distinguished guests, in person and remotely, welcome to this special sitting to commemorate the opening of the new legal year 2026. I wish to acknowledge the presence of His Excellency, the Governor, Mr. Andrew Murdoch, CMG, the Acting Premier of Bermuda, Mr. Zane De Silva, JP, MP, the President of the Senate, Senator Joan Dillis Wright, MBE, JP, and also the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Senator the Honorable Ms. Kim Wilkinson, the U.S. Consul General, Ms. Antoinette Hurtado, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Justice, Mr. David Roberts, the Commissioner and the Deputy Commissioner of Police, the ADC to the Governor, to other distinguished guests, and members of our wider legal family. On behalf of the judiciary, I wish to extend my deepest condolences to the family, colleagues, and the loved ones of Ms. Kindly George, who passed away recently while serving as the president of the Bar Association. We will be holding a special sitting to mark her passing next month, when her family will be present to hear our tributes. We also extend our sincere condolences to the families and colleagues of the late Sonia Grant and Max Quinn, who passed away last year. We will long remember and profoundly miss these distinguished members of our profession. And for the special sitting, I'm now going to call upon the speakers in the order that's in the program. And I call upon the Senior Magistrate, Mrs. Anderson.
Thank you. Justice must be rooted in confidence, and confidence is destroyed when right-minded people go away thinking the judge was biased. Chief Justice, members of the bench, bar, and colleagues, distinguished guests, and friends of the court, as we begin the assizes for 2026, we do so under a solemn and enduring obligation to ensure that justice in Bermuda is not merely proclaimed, but experienced fairly, promptly, and without partiality. Every day in the magistrates' court, magistrates discharge their judicial duty responsibilities with unwavering commitment, without fear or favor, without ill will, and without bias. They do so with an understanding that justice is not only corrective, but where the law permits, restorative. That accountability and dignity must coexist, and the authority of the court is strengthened, not diminished, by humanity. And it must be said plainly, beyond headlines, sound bites, and the noise of modern commentary, magistrates confront the social challenges of our time directly. They do so with purpose, to uphold the law while addressing, as far as properly possible, the circumstances that drive conflict and hardship in our community. Allow me to express my sincere gratitude to the magistracy who are committed to carrying out their duties without fear or favor, with dignity and aplomb. The Worshipful Tyrone Chin, the Worshipful Craig Attridge, the Worshipful Maria Sophianis, and the Worshipful Oral Lee Cassidy all carry out their duties with a clear understanding of their responsibilities, which see each decision weighed carefully and with fulsome consideration of all the key elements that ensure we have a balanced society. It is our duty to remain vigilant and resolute in upholding the principles of justice. I must offer my profound gratitude to the dedicated team who ensures that the wheels of justice continue to turn smoothly and efficiently. These are the court clerks, administrators, cashiers, acting magistrates, special panel members, the liaison and diversion officers, police officers, bailiffs, social workers, security guards, and cleaners. Thank you for your indispensable contributions, ensuring that our courts continue to serve as pillars of fairness and equity in our society. It would be remiss of me not to thank Chief Justice Mussenden for his guidance, encouragement, and support during the last year. His desire to modernize the courts is wholly appreciated. Our therapeutic courts, the drug treatment court, the mental health treatment court, and the driving under the influence court continue to make a hugely positive impact in our community, breaking the chain of incarceration, equipping clients with tools to address their mental health challenges, and live their lives alcohol and drug-free. Other jurisdictions are now contacting us regarding our therapeutic courts and requesting presentations, articles, and guidance in setting up their own treatment courts. I would like to thank all the treatment court staff and the public and private entities that work with our therapeutic courts. The safety and personal security of magistrates and court personnel is an essential precondition to judicial independence and the proper administration of justice. Magistrates are constitutionally required to exercise their functions without fear or favor. Yet the nature of the role necessarily involves making decisions that are unpopular, adversarial, and at times deeply consequential for the liberty, finances, and reputation of those who appear before them. In Bermuda's small and closely interconnected community, these judicial decisions often extend beyond the courtroom, exposing magistrates and court staff to heightened personal vulnerability in their private lives. Over the past 2 years, there has been a measurable increase in threats, harassment, intimidation, and aggressive behavior directed at magistrates, particularly outside formal court settings. These behaviors include verbal abuse, being followed, harassment in public places, and conduct intended to instill fear or exert pressure. This trend coincides with a broader shift in the nature and seriousness of matters heard in the magistrate's court, including more violent offenses, emotionally charged disputes, and increasingly volatile defendants. Court clerks, bailiffs, cashiers, court management, and support staff who interact daily with distressed, angry, or aggressive individuals are also regularly subjected to abuse, threats, and intimidation simply by carrying out their public duties. If left unaddressed, this environment presents a direct risk to judicial independence, institutional integrity, and the rule of law. Bermuda should adopt a focused and systematic framework to protect judges, magistrates, and court personnel centered on legislative reform, personal protection, and institutional support. Always a concern within Bermuda's justice system is the growth of backlogs in the magistrate's court. These challenges highlight the principle that justice delayed may amount to justice denied, particularly where accused persons remain subject to court control, bail conditions, or prolonged uncertainty. The magistrates' courts handle the highest volume of criminal matters and serve as the primary point of access to justice for most defendants. Persistent delays, if they occur at this level, threaten not only procedural fairness, but also the public perception that justice is being administered efficiently and equitably. It is therefore imperative that constant review is given to any backlog in the magistrate's court. Over recent years, Bermuda has experienced a significant and concerning increase in road traffic collisions, road fatalities, and serious driving offenses, particularly those involving impaired driving, excessive speed, and reckless behavior. These trends indicate that the current road environment has become increasingly dangerous for drivers, motorcyclists, pedestrians, and other road users. The prevalence of high-risk driving behaviors have contributed to unpredictable and unsafe conditions, resulting in a growing number of preventable injuries and deaths. While Bermuda has long-standing traffic legislation and benefits from ongoing enforcement by the Bermuda Police Service and education efforts by the Bermuda Road Safety Council, these measures currently operate without an overarching policy framework. In contrast, other jurisdictions have adopted formal road traffic strategies to address similar challenges. The road traffic strategy is a coordinated, evidence-based plan that aligns legislation enforcement, infrastructure improvements, public education, data analysis, and measurable safety targets over a defined period. For Bermuda, adopting such a strategy would allow government and stakeholders to respond systematically to escalating road safety risk, integrate existing laws into a unified national approach, reduce preventable deaths and injuries, contain long-term health care and insurance costs, and restore a sense of safety for all road users. In conclusion, as we stand at the threshold of this judicial year, we must reaffirm our commitment to the principles that uphold the integrity of the legal system, the expeditious administration of justice, the independence of the judiciary, and the equitable access to legal representation regardless of means. We must continue strengthening our treatment courts and problem-solving approaches, not as alternatives to justice, but as instruments of justice, properly supervised, properly resourced, and properly held to measurable standards. We should also remind ourselves of a simple principle. As a society, we are free to hold opinions, but we are not free to replace evidence with assumption. So I extend a direct invitation to the public: come and witness the work of the Magistrates Court firsthand. Sit in the public gallery on any given day. Observe the seriousness, the patience, the volume, and the care with which matters are handled. Do not rely on anonymous posts, hearsay, or innuendo. See for yourselves the quiet, relentless labor that ensures justice is administered with fairness, compassion, and discipline. Finally, I would like to acknowledge the passing of two prominent female Bermudian lawyers, Ms. Kayende George, president of the Bermuda Bar Association, and Ms. Sonia Grant, the first female consular elected to the Corporation of Hamilton. There is a shortage of professionals like Kayende and Sonia, whose empathy, gratitude, sincerity, eloquence, and integrity will truly be missed. In closing, I echo the sentiments expressed every year by quoting Robert Frost. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. This encapsulates the journey that lies ahead, a journey demanding continued dedication and perseverance towards our shared goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senior Magistrate. At this time, I'd like to call on the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Senator the Honorable Kim Wilkinson, to address the court. Madam Attorney.
Chief Justice, Your Excellency the Governor, the Honorable Chief, Honorable Judges, Magistrates, members of the Bar Council, my learned friends, my deputy, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The opening of the legal year provides us a moment of pause and reflection. It invites us to step back from the urgency of daily practice and to consider collectively the deeper purpose of the legal profession and the constitutional role it plays in our society. And more importantly, to truly consider why we choose to serve in this space. I believe we are all defenders of the rule of law, a Justice League of sorts for the DC comic followers. At its core, the rule of law is a quiet architecture that sustains public confidence, social stability, and democratic legitimacy. Certainly, as we look out from our pink shores to the wider geopolitical landscape, we see that architecture being strained. I submit that the sanctity of the rule of law depends not only on sound statutes and strong institutions, but on the integrity, independence, and professionalism of those who serve within them, all of us. All officers of the court share a solemn responsibility to ensure that justice is not only done, but seen to be done fairly, consistently, and without fear or favor. Over the past year, the Ministry of Justice has sought to advance that shared mission by focusing on reform that strengthens confidence in the system, improves transparency, and modernizes our legal framework in a way that is both principled and pragmatic. One significant development has been the establishment of Bermuda Sentencing Guidelines Committee. This committee, led by the Chief, with the support of the ministry, marks an important step in promoting consistency and fairness in sentencing outcomes. This will serve to enhance transparency and public understanding while preserving judicial discretion and independence. The government has also turned its attention to jury reform, an area fundamental to public participation in the administration of justice. A public consultation has been launched and extended to tomorrow, January 31st, to encourage broader engagement, particularly amongst younger Bermudians. It is appropriate that we examine whether our system remains fit for purpose in today's context. A further priority for the coming year is a reconstitution of the Law Reform Commission. In consultation with the Governor and the Chief Justice, we will shortly be selecting commissioners to guide this important work. At the same time, the government has begun the process of recruiting to fully staff the dedicated Law Reform Office and is developing a public-facing interactive website to encourage meaningful participation from the wider community on matters of law and justice. Law reform must be informed not only by technical expertise, but by lived experience. And this initiative is intended to strengthen that connection. The ministry has also prioritized strengthening the legal and institutional response to domestic abuse. This includes a greater sensitivity and consistency in judicial handling of domestic abuse matters. The justice system must be a place of safety and credibility for victim survivors, and we remain committed to continuous improvement in this area. Youth justice reform remains another key priority. Reviews are underway of the Children Act 1998 and the Parental Responsibility Act, with a clear policy direction toward evidence-based and humane approaches that recognize child development, parental accountability and support, and the importance of early intervention over criminalization. In order to do justice, we must be a society that asks why. In that regard, I wish to use this forum to commend the continued work of Justice Wolf and Senior Magistrate Maxanne Anderson and the cross-ministry support teams in the successful administration of Bermuda's treatment court programs. The Senior Magistrate has just talked about those, and I want to commend the entire team. We know that this work is first in class. Finally, in support of Bermuda's international obligations and its reputation as a responsible jurisdiction, the past year has seen important progress on legislation related to the National Anti-Money Laundering Committee. This includes the passage of beneficial ownership legislation, amendments to the Proceeds of Crime Act, and cabinet approval of an asset recovery framework, measures that strengthen transparency, accountability, and the rule of law, and ensure that Bermuda is successful in our 5th round CFATF assessment. As we begin this legal year, I wish to thank the judiciary, the bar, and all justice sector professionals for their continued service and dedication. The work of justice is never static. It demands vigilance, humility, and a willingness to evolve. The Ministry of Justice looks forward to continuing this work in partnership with all of you in service of the law and of the people of Bermuda. Thank you.
Madam Attorney, thank you. It's interesting, your comments about the jury reform, and of course, we have read about it in the newspaper, and you and I have had various discussions, but I think people will know, those of you involved in the criminal justice system, that whenever we have a start of a trial and the judge is selecting a jury, at the start of the case, the excuses are interesting. By the time you get to juror number 50 or so, those excuses become more and more interesting. And so with an expanded pool, we'll see if those excuses get better or if they get less. But we do support all the efforts for jury reform.
Well noted, Chief. And certainly when I had my opportunity to serve as a juror, I intended to make such an excuse, but I hadn't formulated quick enough before.
You were qualified, of course, by then.
I did, and I served before Justice Zubair said, "You're in."
Yes.
And I just was not quick enough on my feet that particular day, but it ended up being a very useful and enriching experience.
Now, were you selected as the foreperson of the?
I was not the foreperson.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, now, I call upon the Solicitor General, Mr. Kiradil Francois, to address the court. Madam Solicitor General.
May it please the court, and with protocol having been established. My Lord, I'm always honored to speak at the special sitting commemorating the start of the legal year. And when doing so, I often try to give my speech a theme. This year's theme comes from my experience over the holiday season. As the old saying goes, out with the old and in with the new. I pursued this approach and took the opportunity to rid myself of unnecessary items which I had not utilized the year before. I set my eyes on a coaster cup set. The coasters were not uniform, but varied in design with different edges on each piece. As I placed each coaster side by side, I realized that the pieces fit into each other like a puzzle. So instead of 4 coasters, I now had a water pitcher mat. It was just a matter of making the pieces fit. Making the pieces fit speaks to the quiet but essential task at the heart of justice. I don't know if that was a good or bad song. The law is not delivered to us as a finished picture. It comes in pieces, and no single piece tells the full story. For example, as I reflect on my early years as a young prosecutor, who would have known that I would become a part of the puzzle? That one of my former, okay, I'm just gonna keep going, I can see. Really? Okay.
Actually, one more of those, Mr. Keynes, and we're gonna have another seat for you over there in the dark.
Okay, so for example, as I reflect on my early years as a young prosecutor, who would have known that I would become part of the puzzle? That one of my former work colleagues, Cindy Clark, would be the head of the very department that we worked in, and one of our other colleagues, Justice Subir Williams, would co-author a book on judicial cooperation in commercial matters with the president of the Court of Appeal, Justice Ian Kawley, with a foreword provided by the Deputy President of the UK Supreme Court and a member of the Privy Council, Mr. Patrick Hodge, a book that can be found at Wiley, Simmons and Hill Publishing Bookstore at Lincoln Inn Archway. And I've actually bought a copy of our book over for a signature later on, my lady. As we gather at the opening of the new judicial year, we are able to reflect on the work that has brought us here and resolve for the work that lies ahead. It is fitting at such a moment to consider not only what we do, but how and why we do it. Making the pieces fit does not mean forcing them into place. The legal system itself is a mosaic, consisting of not just judges alone, but by advocates who bring clarity and rigor to arguments, court staff who sustain the daily functions of the court, counsel who challenge the law, and public legal offices such as the Attorney General's chambers, supported by their administrative staff, who, among other things, conduct litigation before these honorable courts on behalf of the government of Bermuda. All are essential pieces. When any one of these is diminished, the picture is incomplete. As a piece of the puzzle, over the past year, the Attorney General's Chambers has demonstrated strong legal representation before these courts. And this year, we anticipate a steady growth in our legal team, contributing to an even stronger presence. So if we are strong now, imagine us at full capacity. Our office recognizes that making the pieces fit also asks something personal of each of us. It calls for patience in listening, discipline in reasoning, and openness to the possibility that our first view may not actually be the right one. It requires us to see beyond outcomes, to process, beyond certainty to fairness, beyond the immediate dispute to the broader legal landscape our actions help to shape. The hardest cases are often those where important values pull us in different directions. Certainty and flexibility, authority and accountability, individual rights and collective interests. Our task is not to deny these tensions, but to reason through them openly, truthfully, and transparently. As we begin this judicial year, we do so knowing that the picture will never be final. The law is a living framework, continually reshaped by new questions, new voices, new realities. As the Attorney General's Chambers, we recognize that our role is not to attempt to complete the puzzle once and for all, but to ensure that at each moment, the pieces we place are fitted with care, honesty, and respect for the rule of law. I take that too. As a result, we trust that this year be marked by thoughtful deliberation, principled judgment, and a shared commitment to justice as its fullest sense. And may we continue together in demanding and necessary work of making the pieces fit. My Lord, I once again thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to this legal year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Solicitor General. I now call upon the Senior Legal Aid Counsel, Ms. Susan Mulligan. Yes.
Good afternoon, Chief Justice,
Ms. Mulligan.
members of the judiciary, distinguished and honorable guests. I promise that I will end my speech on a very positive note. But I must acknowledge that it's been a challenging period for the Legal Aid Office over the past few years. Throne speech initiatives were brought into place by the amendments to the Legal Aid Act in 2019. So we're going back a bit, but I'm coming forward. They were meant to bring most legal aid work in-house so that they could be assigned to counsel employed by the Legal Aid Office, thereby substantially reducing the cost to the public of the provision of legal aid services. They were also meant to provide an important training ground for future generations of Bermudian barristers and solicitors across a broad spectrum of legal practice areas to ensure that there will always be skilled, well-trained counsel available for our most vulnerable citizens. Legal aid lawyers, as most of you know here, but maybe not all, do more than just criminal cases. We appear in many of those cases, but we also do duty counsel work, treatment court work, juvenile cases, guardianship applications, civil and employment disputes, human rights claims, appellate litigation, and family court litigation, to name just a few of the areas that we end up becoming involved in.
But it's interesting you say that, and that you include civil, because oftentimes we have litigants that come before the courts to say that they cannot get legal aid for civil matters.
Well, that should be something that we'll have to address with the committee.
Yeah.
Because there are different requirements for legal aid, but it's not a bar to legal aid that they're a civil litigant at all.
And there's oftentimes people in civil matters that do need to have legal aid as well.
Yes, yeah. No, it's certainly not a bar, so they're welcome to apply. We're there to help. As you no doubt recall, after the amendments came into place, the pandemic kind of froze us in place for a period of time in 2020 and thereafter, as the focus necessarily shifted after that to island-wide recovery. In the years between then and now, the Legal Aid Office has never quite been sufficiently staffed to be able to meet our mandate, so full credit must be given to the private bar, members of the private bar that have assisted, taken on very many legal aid cases, and at not great remuneration. I mean, they really do work very hard to help us, to help the public. We also have a handful of in-house legal aid counsel who have consistently given up weekends, evenings, family time, vacations, even cup match celebrations, in order to be there to provide legal services whenever needed.
That had to be a St. George's.
Yeah.
There's no right-thinking Somerset fan.
I have to admit, St. George's.
Mr. Wolf?
The past year has been one of our, you're quite right, actually. The past year has been one of our most challenging, but with the Herculean effort, sacrifice, and dedication of our very small team, both administrative and legal, we've continued, and we're on the same path?
Yeah, Lisa's just
Yeah, we've continued to provide exceptional service and results to the public. Notwithstanding a shortage of funds, counsel, administrative assistance, appropriate physical space, and tools, we kept on.
Yes.
Fortunately, all of that is about to change. Our minister has been very clear that she and our government are committed to ensuring that no Bermudian is left behind, and she understands the fundamental importance of and is committed to ensuring access to justice for all Bermudians. I'm pleased to advise the court that change has already begun in our office. We have brought on board two promising Bermudian junior barristers, Ms. Chardonnay Hughes and Ms. Ashley Fubler. And we have been fortunate to secure two more senior counsel to provide mentorship and guidance. Nicole Smith, who brings with her over 2 decades of experience at the DPP's office in the judicial branch, and someone I think I can probably simply refer to as the people's advocate, Miss Victoria Pierman. In the very near future, the Legal Aid Office, after only a 3-year wait, will be moving to a larger, more appropriate space, more suitable for our needs. This will permit us to bring on board even more in-house counsel to serve those members of the public who otherwise would have no voice and would be effectively denied access to justice. It will ensure going forward that those persons who need legal assistance the most and are least able to afford it, like some of those civil clients, will not stand alone and fight legal battles without the assistance they deserve. Also, whilst we await the appointment of the public guardian, we will continue to navigate those difficult waters at the Legal Aid Office for clients who require help managing health, financial, and legal affairs with the lack of any capacity to do so alone, without family, and without other assistance. We will finally be able to provide a more fulsome and better resource training ground for Bermudian barristers, solicitors, paralegals, and legal administrative professionals, contributing to our government's effort to stem the exodus of talented young Bermudians and ensure cultural sensitivity and full engagement by counsel with our clients' legal and other concerns. We will be obtaining a modern case management system and Archibald's that's not 23 years out of date, passed on by the DPP's office. We might even get the electronic version. So we're very excited about these changes and what it means for our work and for Bermudians. I'm grateful to our minister for her support and to my team for their dedication and resilience over the past difficult years. We are, of course, always grateful as well for the hard work of our courts, our very dedicated judiciary, and the members of the judicial branch, and look forward to continuing to work with you as we enhance and improve our services to the public, to the courts, and our contribution to the proper and efficient administration of justice. I thank you, Chief Justice, for the opportunity to address you on this most important occasion.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Mulligan. Ms. Mulligan, that's such a refreshing report to show how the Legal Aid Office has grown from what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago to sort of bustling beehive of activity that it is right now. And so I know that members of the bench do deal with litigants in person on a regular basis in all the divisions, but with the report that you've given, pretty soon we'll be looking and seeing that there will be legal aid counsel coming in to assist the litigant in person or to assist the party and also to the court. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
You have
We
an
look
exciting
forward to it
year.
too.
Have an exciting year coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, now I'll call upon the president of the Bermuda Bar Association, Mr. Keith Robinson. Mr. Robinson.
Thank you very much, my Lord. Chief Justice, members of the Judiciary, Your Excellency, Acting Premier, Madam Attorney General, honoured guests. My Lord, on behalf of the Bermuda Bar Association, may I first say a few words about Ms. K&D George, who, while President of our association, died so suddenly in late November. I'm acutely aware that it ought to be K&D standing here making her address to this court rather than myself. The Bermuda Bar Association, my Lord, is very grateful to you for having organised a special sitting on the 20th of February at which full tribute to K&D will be possible. I will therefore simply say that K&D was a very valued colleague of many members of the Bermuda Bar, and in particular, of course, to her colleagues at Atwood, Stirling and Wallonecki.
Yes.
And we continue to think of K&D's family at this time and will mark her considerable contribution to the legal profession on the 20th of February, followed by a reception hosted by the Bar Council.
Yes.
Well, Lord, turning now to the makeup of the current makeup of the Bermuda Bar, quite remarkably, just very recently, the number of registered full practicing members ticked over 500. So there are 501 members of the Bermuda Bar in full membership today, with about 130 of those practicing in-house. And that latter figure, as many on the room will know, are largely represented by in-house counsel in international and business, particularly in insurance companies. I also wanted to note that the Bermuda Bar also has 130 registered associates, and that is mainly from Hong Kong and Singapore, again recognising where some of the litigation work comes to Bermuda law firms. Of the many law firms, a growing number are registered as professional companies, and they're just over 30 now, or just under 30 in number. Therefore, I give you really these statistics really to make the point that there's many different facets to the Bermuda Bar Association, from sole practitioners through to commercial law firms, government legal service, in-house counsel and major insurance companies. And so the Bermuda Bar Association has to attempt to service this very diverse profession. One tradition that you, Chief Justice, may be interested to know is coming back is that the Bermuda Bar Council has resolved to start re-attending calls to the bar. It used to be a very nice tradition, in my view, in this jurisdiction, that a member of Bar Council would come to the call to the bar ceremony and welcome the new member to the Bermuda Bar. So I'm pleased to say the Bar Council has resolved to start doing that, and we'll be starting that next Friday when I think you're calling someone
Thank you.
to the bar.
The Attorney General's chambers used to send someone as well. I think Mr. Rochester used to come, and I think Ms. Perrin would know that he had a small book that he kept track of the exact number of males, females, the whole bit. So maybe Solicitor General can nominate a replacement for Mr.
Well, my
Rochester.
Lord, we certainly intend to be
also.
certainly intend to be there if we can
We look forward to it.
for calls to the bar. I wanted to mention, my Lord, one area of concern to the Bar Council, and that is the limited number of young lawyers entering the practice of criminal law. The Bar Council has, since 2009, sponsored a Bermudian pupil at Mountford Chambers, formerly Carmelite Chambers, and that scholarship is named in honour of Dame Lois Brown Evans. The scholarship is one tangible way in which the Bar Council is encouraging the practice of criminal law, but of course there is much that needs to be done to increase the entry into the profession. I'm pleased to say that after a break last year, that scholarship has been awarded this year to Lily Martin, and we wish Lily every success during her pupillage at Mountford Chambers. One aspect of the Bar Council's activities, my Lord, that is sometimes overlooked is the free legal advice clinic, which is staffed by volunteer members of the bar, and that takes place most Thursday evenings at the Community Centre on Angle Street. On behalf of the Bar Council, can I thank the members of the bar who contribute to that important initiative. The Bar Council, Lord, has a number of initiatives underway, many of which you will be familiar with, and many of which were actually championed by K&D George. Firstly, my Lord, the Bar Council is keen to review and suggest improvements to the Bermuda Bar Act and rules, and that work is underway. The Bar Council has also undertaken a revision to the policy on the admission of foreign counsel, and again, hopefully that will be published quite soon. The Bar Council is also keen to publish guidance on the use of Mackenzie Friends, and that is being considered. And finally, my Lord, the Bar Council has recently resolved to reopen consultation on the issue of whether conditional and contingency-free arrangements ought to be permitted, and the Bar Council hopes to have a consultation at the April AGM. My Lord, turning to the issue of professional conduct of members of the Bar, I wanted to highlight the important work of the Professional Conduct Committee, chaired for many years by Geoffrey Elkinson. The COVID years, my Lord, left a backlog of complaints to deal with, as a result of which a decision was taken to recruit a full-time member of staff, Mr. Saul Fromkin, in case he was recruited into this role. And I'm pleased to report, my Lord, that very considerable progress has been made by the Professional Conduct Committee and Mr. Fromkin to clear the backlog. Complaints are now being processed much more promptly and moving on, if appropriate, tribunal hearings more quickly. I would also wish to thank, on behalf of the Bar Council, Chief Justice and also members of the Supreme Court Judiciary who chair those tribunals, and also note that members of the Bar make up the three-person panel. I would appeal to all members of the Bar who are asked to take on this role to do so, notwithstanding that it can, of course, at times be consuming and sometimes personally and professionally difficult to do so. Turning, my Lord, to a somewhat brighter topic to close my address to the special sitting, I'd be grateful if I could mention a number of forthcoming highlights of the Bermuda Bar year. The first one is that in May 2026, the New York State Bar Court of Claims Judges Association, it's quite a mouthful, yes, will be visiting Bermuda, and the Bar Council will be hosting the visiting judges for a morning during their visit. It is also hoped, my Lord, during the current year that the Bench Bar and Business Conference, which took place back in 2024, will have another edition in this summer. And finally, my Lord, the Bermuda Bar has for many years supported the Legal Fraternity Charity Walk, and this will again take place in May of this year. I would encourage all members of the Bermuda Bar Association, as well as perhaps the members of the Judiciary, and perhaps some of our honoured guests, to think about taking part in the sponsored walk. That sponsored walk has raised important funds for Bermuda's charities over quite a number of years. So, my Lord, just in conclusion, thank you for inviting the Bermuda Bar Association to be heard on this important day in the Bermuda legal year. And on behalf of the association, I pass on my good wishes to the Judiciary for the year ahead. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. Make sure you invite the governor, because he prefers to run.
That's really what I was thinking about.
Yes. We note that during the International Weekend recently, he did all three events. And his ranking is really up there, cumulatively. I checked the newspaper to see that. Well done, sir. Now I call upon Mr. Justice Wolf.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Chief Justice of the United States Earl Warren said that the success of any legal system is measured by its fidelity to the universal ideal of justice. At last year's Judicial Legal New Year, I stated that the fundamentals of the criminal justice system were sound and that our foundations of justice were strong. I also stated that we will do all that is necessary to make sure that this continues in 2025. I am delighted to say that we did just that. As I said last year, when I say we, I'm referring to the Honorable Mr. Justice Alan Richards and the acting justices of the Criminal Division, the Department of Public Prosecutions, the Criminal Defense Bar, the Legal Aid Office, the Bermuda Police Service, the Department of Corrections, the Department of Court Services, and last but certainly not least, the staff of the Criminal Division of the Supreme Court. Together, we have zealously ensured that accused persons fully enjoy their legal and constitutional rights, which are enshrined under Section 6 of the Bermuda Constitutional Order of 1968. In particular, one, that they will be afforded a fair trial within a reasonable period of time by an independent and impartial court. And two, that they shall be presumed innocent until they are proven guilty. Equally important is our steadfast assurance that victims of crime will also receive justice for what may have been a terrible crime which was committed on them. While the courts cannot ease their trauma, we have made strident efforts to guarantee that their complaints will be heard as soon as possible and that the court will be a safe place where they can give coherent and cogent evidence. Moreover, the rule of law and access to justice are at the heart of the criminal justice system. They are what motivates us to do what we do. At the forefront of our mind is that everyone must have the opportunity and the facility to be heard, and ultimately that they will receive a fair trial. This is whether they are accused of a heinous crime or are the victims of one. To this end, in 2025, the criminal courts continued their mission, which commenced in February 2024, to reduce the backlog of cases which ballooned in the years prior. As in 2024, 2025 was punctuated by the court holding results-driven case management hearings, wherein the courts was the conduit through which timely and full disclosure was made, assisting the prosecution and the defense with getting ready for trial, prioritizing matters which were of a vintage nature, that is before 2022, or where the accused person is remanded in custody, or where the accused person is a foreign national, or where multiple defendants are involved, or where matters can be tried within a short period of time. And also by resolving pre-trial applications in a timely manner. All of this was accomplished with only 2 substantive judges presiding over the vast majority of the matters, and with a depleted but enthusiastic administrative staff. The efforts have borne fruit. The 2025 annual report sets out the statistics, and so I will not bore you with them. But we are hopeful that 2026 will be as or more successful than 2025. I'm happy to also mention an initiative which represents a watershed moment in the criminal justice system generally, and in the sentencing of offenders specifically. In July 2025, the Honorable Chief Justice Larry Musselin constituted the Sentencing Guidelines Committee, the SGC, which is chaired by myself and deputized by the Honorable Mr. Justice Alan Richards. As its membership, it has representatives from the Magistracy, the Department of Public Prosecutions, the Criminal Defense Bar, the Bermuda Bar Association, the Bermuda Police Service, the Department of Court Services, the Department of Corrections, and lay members of the public. The SGC aims to formulate sentencing guidelines which will ensure transparency and consistency in the sentencing process, not just for the accused person, but also for victims of crime. It should be noted that the sentencing guidelines are not intended to be tramlines, and so they will not erode the discretion or the independence of the court to sentence offenders in accordance with the specific circumstances of the offense or of the offender. We are clear-eyed of the fact that the formulation of the guidelines will invariably be a comprehensive and lengthy process. But the SGC are confident that within 2026, the sentencing will be crafted, or sentencing guidelines will be crafted for at least 2 prevalent offenses, such as bladed articles and traffic offenses where injury or death has been caused. I am gratified that many of the recommendations which I made in 2024 annual report have been actioned on, such as discussions have commenced with stakeholders in respect of judge-alone trials. And while such discussions are still in their embryonic stages, there is a consensus that the more serious offenses, such as murder, should be decided by a jury of one's peers. Both criminal courts are now outfitted with the appropriate audio-visual equipment, thereby allowing evidence to be properly reviewed and accessed by the jury, and in keeping with the ideals of open justice for members of the public to see the evidence which is adduced in a criminal trial. Now, as you have heard from Mr. Robinson, the Bermuda Bar Association has taken meaningful steps towards attracting barristers to the criminal law. And we are optimistic that with their continued and valued support, that we can avoid the numbers of the criminal law bar dwindling to parity low levels. To put this into perspective, of those 500 registered barristers that Mr. Robinson spoke about, only about 20 of them regularly practice criminal law in these courts. Also, as a result of productive collaboration between the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, Senator the Honorable Kim Wilkinson, JP, and the Ministry of Justice, there is in train a raft of legal reform as it relates to selection, service, and remuneration of jurors. And I want to take this time to personally thank the Attorney General for her undying efforts towards making meaningful and much needed legal reform. So thank you very much, Madam. I will now speak on an initiative that hopefully will add or clarify the public's knowledge about the criminal justice and how the criminal justice system works. An integral part of open justice and access to justice is educating accused persons and the general public about the legal principles and procedures which underpin and drive the criminal justice system. Unfortunately, public perception about the courts and criminal matters are often shaped by social media, movies, television, and what occurs in other jurisdictions. It is imperative that accused persons, victims of crime, potential jurors, and curious members of the public know exactly what must occur by law and procedure as a criminal matter progresses through the courts. If members of the public are duly informed about the criminal law process, then they'll be better informed about why certain legal decisions are made by the court and why the prosecution and the defense take the legal positions that they do. The end result would be that members of the public would be better equipped to navigate through what may be a life-altering predicament, should they be an accused person, a victim, or a witness. We will therefore embark upon an education program in 2026 which would specifically design to inform members of the public about the separate and distinct roles of the judge, the jury, the prosecution, and the defense, the journey of a criminal matter through the magistrate's court to the Supreme Court, the general right of an accused person to be granted bail, the burden and standard of proof which must be achieved by the prosecution, the jury selection process, what transpires during a trial, and about the sentencing process. Finally, Chief Justice, I find it necessary to provide some observations from the bench. Over the past 15 to 20 years, we have seen a disturbing escalation of some of our young men committing extremely violent offenses. Many of those offenses have been brutal in nature, and some have resulted in the untimely deaths of our young men. In fact, the problem and its precursors have reached epidemic proportions, so much so that we should start treating them as a public health issue. It seems, sadly, that we have arrived at a place where some of our young men are intent or compelled to resolve disputes by the wielding of a knife or a firearm. This is a tragedy on so many different levels, as it often results in the loss of multiple people. Loss of young men who, by his death, has been deprived of a promising future. Loss of the offending young man who will likely spend the remainder of his youth and a significant part of his adulthood behind bars. Loss of a child of a victim who, without psychological or psychiatric intervention, may live the remainder of their life with deep-seated grief and trauma, which may eventually manifest into antisocial or even criminal conduct. It is heart-wrenching. It is heart-wrenching that but for their horrific experiences, that each of these individuals could have been loving fathers, successful entrepreneurs, captains of industry, social political change agents, human rights advocates, creative artists, or world-class sportsmen, etc., etc. No matter their crime, they are our young men. So, we must find and implement sustainable programs to not only guide them along the path of rehabilitation, but also to prevent the offending behavior happening in the first place. It is therefore imperative that the prisons have, one, full-time psychiatrists at the prison on a daily basis to assist inmates with whatever mental health issues which may lie at the root of their criminal behavior. And two, a continual life skills program to provide inmates with the tools to resolve disputes in a non-combative way, to obtain and maintain employment, to be an active parent in their child's life, to budget, to engage in critical thinking and effective problem solving, to manage emotions, etc. These programs will provide inmates with the emotional and practical wherewithal to surmount challenges after incarceration and then to go on to lead lives which they and their families would be proud of. In the community, schools, churches, workmen's clubs, sports clubs, etc. should have as part of their curriculum or programs a life skills component to provide our young ones, some as young as 5 years old, with the knowledge that they do not need to resolve disputes with violence, that they should cultivate relationships which are productive and not destructive, to have confidence in oneself, to instill well-being and self-esteem within themselves and in others, and to acquire effective verbal and communication skills, etc., etc. Of course, this is not a panacea. But along with other sustainable initiatives which are already in the community, then maybe my role as a judge of the criminal courts would become redundant. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Justice Wolf. I'm going to say a few remarks now, and before I do so, I just want to send the regrets of a number of justices who are unable to be here today. So that is Justice Stoneham, Justice Richards, and Acting Assistant Justice Wheatley. So my remarks. The wheels of justice rely on the collaboration and assistance of a number of agencies. Much have been mentioned already by Mr. Wolf and others. And so I also want to acknowledge with thanks the assistance given by the Bermuda Bar Council and Association and Ms. Edmund Sterling, who I did see earlier, and I do see her now, yes. Thank you, Edmund, for everything that you do in liaison between the Bar Council and the courts. Bermuda Police Service, who do a wonderful job in the work that they do, and also the support that you give to the judiciary in various areas where you are obliged to support us. So we thank you for that. Also, thanks is extended to the Department of Court Services, the Department of Corrections, the Department of Public Prosecutions, the Legal Aid Office, the HR Department, and the Ministry of Justice. I also acknowledge the members of the Judicial and Legal Services Committee, the JLSC, in dealing with judicial appointments and judicial complaints. Now, here today in the Dame Lewis Brown Evans building, I'm pleased to present the Bermuda Judiciary Annual Report for 2025 and to mark the opening of the 2026 legal year. So this is the report for 2025. I want to thank all of the authors, distributed amongst us, either from the bench or from the management, for providing the information for the report. And so that will be available online on the judiciary website as of Monday. And we will also have various printed copies for people. And so I'm going to refer to various parts of the report in making my remarks. So our annual report and this special sitting in the open public is the starting point of accountability, especially needed in a small island home like Bermuda. The public have a right to know about our performance, our achievements, and our successes, where we have not performed well, our challenges, where we are headed, and how we will seek to address matters in the long and short term. And you've heard that from the various speakers today. Now, in respect of the court system, our justice system works due to the dedication and service of the bench, the judges, the acting judges, the assistant justices, the magistrates, the acting magistrates, and the special court panel members who hear and conduct cases and deliver a variety of outcomes on a daily basis. They are all owed a huge debt of gratitude. Alongside of us on the bench, and most times in front of us, the judicial officers, are the registrar, the assistant registrars, and the administrative staff who provide endless services to the bench and to the external parties. They are worth their weight in gold, and huge thanks are extended to them. And we also extend our sincere thanks to members of the bar who provide their services to the public in conducting cases, and we've heard much about you earlier. It is a competent, robust bar made up of single-person firms, as Mr. Robinson said, small firms and the large firms, all doing the people's business. I'm going to turn to the various jurisdictions of the court to make my short remarks about the different divisions, but please look to the website on Monday and you can download the full report. I'd first like to address the Court of Appeal, and we express our sincere thanks to Sir Christopher Clark, who retired at the end of last year after a number of years as president of the court and as a member. And we now extend best wishes to President Ian Kawley as he leads the court. We're extremely grateful to the distinguished justices of appeal, and we welcome Sir Julian Flo to the court. And thanks are also extended to the administration team for the Court of Appeal, headed up by the registrars, as well as Ms. Butterfield, I don't know if she's in the court, but they live in an incredible world of bundles, records, transcripts, and submissions. Present or missing, but that's how they survive. Present or missing the submissions, that is, and bundles and transcripts. I'd like to speak about the Supreme Court Criminal Division. You've heard from Mr. Wolf, but I do extend my thanks to Justice Wolf, to Justice Sabir Williams, Justice Richards, Assistant Justice Ford, and Assistant Justice Patrick Doherty, and the staff of the Criminal Division for their stellar work in listing and conducting trials. I'm also pleased that the Sentencing Guidelines Committee is underway under the chairmanship of Mr. Justice Wolf. In respect of the Supreme Court Civil and Commercial Division, I extend my thanks again to Justice Sabir Williams, to Justice Martin, to Justice Stoneham, Assistant Justices Siegel, Southey, Alkinson, Deal, and others who've conducted civil and commercial matters over the course of the last year. The cases have continued to be filed, listed, and progressed as best as possible. And like the Madam Solicitor General, I wish to extend my congratulations to Justice Sabir Williams on the publication of the book entitled Judicial Cooperation in Commercial Litigation, the British Cross-Border Financial Center World, 3rd edition, which she was co-editor with, as you heard, with President Ian Kawley and Justice David Doyle, currently of the Cayman Islands bench. There are a number of references in the online report to the text in the Commercial and Civil Division report, as well as in the JTR report. So I commend that to you, and I will advise you that you should make reference to it when you are in the commercial courts and you're making submissions to Justice Sabir Williams. She's likely going to be for you in that case, but Justice Sabir Williams is a free mind, and so you might very well put the case before her, and she might ask you, well, so what? Now tell me how it applies to this case. Now, the court has continued to use a combination of in-person hearings and remote appearances to provide a seamless service in cases. To that point, there were 30 special admissions to the bar over the last year where the cases were led here in Bermuda by Overseas Silk or King's Counsel with support of Bermuda Counsel. That is a testament to the nature of the work that the Bermuda courts handle here in our commercial division. I spoke last year about mortgage actions, and in respect of mortgage defaults, they continue this year where people have fallen into default. Last year, the mortgage actions amounted to nearly $4 million that were in default that resulted in court applications. Thus, the applications are made for possession, powers of sale, and money judgments. And these actions, they have serious consequences for both lenders and homeowners. In respect of premises, we met last year with the Estates Department to discuss securing other premises for an expanded civil and commercial court space, because what we have now, we really have run out of space. It's no longer fit for purpose. We would like to have another facility where there can be up to 4 commercial courts, or 4 courts, civil and commercial, or even just commercial, and have civil courts even somewhere else, because there is a huge demand, especially in the commercial cases, where we are supporting the international business sector that drives Bermuda's economy. In respect of the Supreme Court Family and Matrimonial Division, thanks are extended to Assistant Justice Wheatley for the conduct of the Family and Matrimonial Division. She has been hearing matters in what is both an important and busy division. She also has some interesting and what I would say is popular ideas on the use of mediation in family matters. And you might have seen some discussion in the newspaper recently about those ideas. We have our probate division, and we've had some challenges with probate, but the probate team continue to process applications and have picked up the pace as they address the backlog that we have. And we are confident that we'll address all the outstanding probate matters and then provide an excellent, timely service going forward. The senior magistrate spoke about the magistrate's court, and so therefore I don't have to delve into that too much, other than to say that I also express my sincere thanks to all the sections of the magistrate's court, including the criminal, the civil, the family, traffic, and the treatment courts. I'd also like to express thanks to the bailiffs, who have a difficult task sometimes in carrying out the work that they do. So the Deputy Provost Marshal General, Provost Marshal, as well as the bailiffs, thank you for all the services that you do. No one looks forward to seeing you. Sometimes you have to be on the up and up and quick-footed to be able to serve the documents that you do, but you do a good job. And I was asked to present to the bailiffs just last week and had a fantastic time, both of us regaling stories. One of them, Justice Abel Williams, was the case of Molly White, the Court of Appeal judgment, in which spoke about the ability of the court to stay a possession order. I think you also issued another judgment today on that very point. But I went over that with the bailiffs, who oftentimes are right there at the court, ready to evict someone, and then they get a call from the registrar saying, just hold off because there's been an emergency application to the court. And so I'm sharing with the bailiffs exactly what's going on in a stay application, and so they understand about having the patience and the respect for the judicial process to play its way out. And I think we enjoyed that session. I now turn to the Judicial Training Institute. I extend sincere thanks to Justice Bill Williams for organizing local training for the bench. In November, we had a training seminar where we focused on anti-money laundering, as well as the use of artificial intelligence, or AI. We considered practice directions on AI in other jurisdictions, and Justice Bill Williams will soon lead a small committee to work on introducing a practice direction for the use of AI in Bermuda court documents. The judges have had some training and use of AI functions ourselves, using VLEX and Vincent, which perhaps members of the bar know about also. We've been doing it for research purposes, not for writing judgments. Although it's often tempting. We want to ensure that we are using modern tools to our benefit. I turn to our IT department and to Frank Vasquez and his assistant Brian Mello for their technology support. We're grateful to them for their work every day to provide systems in court and for the administration, and for making sure that Court Smart is also available to be able to get the transcripts from. Always a challenge. I throw out a challenge to the magistrates court staff now to make sure that they tag the Court Smart so that it's easy for us to find things when we're dealing with appeals or other matters that have taken place. We also have a social committee, and I thank the social committee chaired by Magistrate Maria Sofianes. They've done an excellent job over the last year of organizing social events, which is really important for the morale and welfare of the members of the judicial branch. Those activities included bowling, boating, and celebrations around national holidays. The new chair is Ms. Saida Wingard, and we extend best wishes to her and the new committee. I'm going to touch on some other areas now. In 2025, there were 34 calls to the bars when attorneys were called. That was generally a mix of young Bermudians who've qualified to be admitted to practice, as well as lawyers who are new to Bermuda. And so on behalf of the bench, we express our congratulations to you and extend best wishes to all those new members of the bar. I turn now to our courtroom facilities. We still await the start of the renovation work in this building, starting from the 5th floor, working its way down, which will see the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court's Criminal and Family Divisions, and the Magistrates Court and Services all in one location. I did invite the people from Works and Engineering or Public Works, the Estate Department, but I don't see them there. I even had asked them, for a timeline. But yes, I asked for a timeline, and they didn't reply to me. So I'm pleased to announce that the renovation should start tomorrow. Now I'm on the public record, and they have to meet the challenge. But honestly, we're confident that the Estates Department will treat our project as a project. The minister is here.
Yeah.
Yes, he's here as the acting. He's here in his capacity as the acting premier. But now then, welcome, Minister. Public Works. Yes. Would you care to speak on this? No, he's okay then. All right. Now, also, but certainly, Minister, and also to members present, the existing courts and the premises still require maintenance. We're extremely grateful to the Ministry of Public Works, in particular Sheridan Ming, Thomas Brown, and their team of tradesmen who do respond to our needs on a regular basis, despite the demands on their resources and on other challenges that they have. They are unsung heroes with a wide scope of expertise that make things work. I now turn to the electronic case management system that is on tap for the courts. The court issued a request for proposals for an electronic case management system last year. We received many proposals, and the evaluation process has progressed throughout 2025, and it's almost become a full-time job for the evaluation committee. There are a number of us in the room that are on the evaluation committee. It is a tremendous amount of work. There's the government procurement process that has to take place, and there are a number of, I'm not going to call them hurdles, but a number of requirements that have to be dealt with in this day and age: privacy, security, integrity, cloud systems, where the data can be housed, where it can't be housed, what will happen if there is a breach in privacy. And so, as I say, and then also contract discussions. And so it has been a massive exercise that we have been involved in, the evaluation team, and we are confident that we can draw that to a close and launch an electronic case management system later this year. That system will move us from the paper-based system that we have in all of our divisions to an electronic system. And so we extend our thanks to the government, which accepted the importance of having such a modern system and provided the funding well in advance. I'd also like to acknowledge the U.S. Consul General, who paid a visit to the courts last year. the U.S. Consul General came and visited all of the areas and was, I believe, and did express to me, impressed with all of the divisions of the court, having met people from the bench as well as the administrative staff. And we did recognize that there is an exchange that takes place just on a regular basis between various divisions of the court and the U.S. U.S. consulate in respect of citizens from the U.S. that are here in Bermuda and have a challenge one way or the other. So thank you very much for your visit to the courts, and we look forward to having you again at any point. I'm now going to turn to a subject, the independence of the judiciary. You've heard us speak about this before. Previous Chief Justice as well as I have spoken about the independence of the judiciary. And so in democracy, it is extremely important that the public and those that appear before the courts know and trust that their cases will be decided in accordance with the law and free of any influence or external or internal pressures. One principle of judicial independence is financial autonomy and the need to have sufficient resources in order to properly discharge our constitutional responsibilities. And so the bench, we will be having some work sessions towards the end of March, where we will be discussing our constitutional and our statutory needs for the development of the judiciary. And we're going to be doing that in preparation for the anticipated constitutional conference that the government had announced in a recent throne speech. And so we're looking to prepare ourselves so that we can make meaningful submissions to the Constitutional Conference and bring some meaningful change to the bench and to the judicial branch. Another essential aspect of judicial independence is the independence of judicial administration. That are the functions that come generally under the responsibility of the registrar, but also the Chief Justice. At present, the executive branch provides support in areas such as financial administration, organizational structures, and human resources. But in my view, the administration of the judiciary must ultimately assume full responsibility for these functions, just like a lot of the Quangos have. They take care of their own IT, their own HR, and their own administration. Thus, we will start some discussions to delink these areas where we are dealing with the civil service for judiciary positions and responsibilities. We're looking to delink those areas from the executive branch, similar to what's in other jurisdictions, like, for example, the Bahamas. And there, in the Bahamas, they have a position called the Director of Administration, which has the responsibility of these things. It's not actually out in the civil service where it's being handled by other civil servants. We have to move from that. And so a Director of Administration will be a position that will have statutory responsibility to administer the judiciary, leaving the registrar to deal with the legal and procedural matters involved with cases. So I look forward to having those discussions with the relevant parties so that we can develop in that area and become more modern. Now, having spoken about the independence of the judiciary, it's equally important to recognize that this independence is strengthened through constructive partnership with the government. You might think it's interesting, but we're saying we want to be independent, but of course we still have to deal with the government. And we do that by engaging with the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice and her Permanent Secretary, Mr. Roberts. Both of them have provided exemplary support to this judiciary over their time that they've been in office. They have met with us regularly, they've embraced our vision, and have worked tirelessly to address the needs that we've identified. I have to say that, Madam Attorney General, whatever we've asked for in the last year during your term in office, you have provided for us, and we are deeply grateful for your efforts to underscore the independence of the judiciary. And I thank also the Permanent Secretary, who's been a great assistance to Registrar, who I see is nodding her head in agreement. I now turn to H.E. the Governor. I extend our sincere appreciation to you, sir, for your steadfast support of the judiciary. You've taken the time to tour our courts, to meet with our members of the bench and our staff, and to fulfill your constitutional responsibilities in relation to judicial appointments. He's also made himself readily available for thoughtful discussions with me on matters affecting the administration of justice and the judiciary. And sir, we look forward to your continued support as we advance the work of the justice system. So thank you, sir. And now I'm coming to a close. I wish to thank those counsel who spoke today. And I extend my thanks to the members of your organizations, whether they be government departments or the private bar. As I've said before, you are the ones, that is the bar, you are the ones who have been retained to represent your clients, individuals, boards, or companies in pursuit of your cases. You are their voice, and in my view, as I've said before, there's no greater honor than to be an advocate standing here in a court. And you are members of such a distinguished and esteemed profession. And so, as I've said before also, I encourage you to develop your career so that one day you might be the head of your firm, that you might be the Attorney General or the Solicitor General, the Director of Public Prosecutions, President of the Bar, Senior Legal Aid Counsel. You can be a judge, a magistrate, a puisne judge, a Chief Justice, a member of the Court of Appeal, be the Governor of Bermuda. So I encourage everyone. He's smiling, yes. So I encourage everyone to just continue with your professions. And I found in my life that as long as I concentrated on the job that I had, somebody else was really looking at your next step. So I encourage you to do your best. Now, in closing, I invite you to read the 2025 annual report. I hold it up again. There should be some printed copies around here. You can perhaps help yourself to one of them. I don't think there's ownership in any of them. But check the website again for that. You will find the main highlights of the last year and the short commentaries on the various courts and their respective jurisdictions. So this is an important document from a point of view of judicial accountability. I'd also like to thank the people that worked on this report, that some of the administrative assistants in the courts, that is Tesnay, that's Yanni, Raquel, the registrar, and others, as well as the people who made contributions to the report. So I thank them for organizing the production of the report, as well as DCI, that's the Department of Communication and Information, who did the graphic design and produced the report. So thanks to everyone involved in that. And finally, I would like to thank everyone who's attended here today. And from here, I'm inviting members of the bench and the bar to make our way down to the main staircase of the building to have some pictures taken there. And so if you can make your way there shortly, we would appreciate that. And so there's also going to be a reception on the concourse afterwards, so please come back for the reception. And at this time, I would like to conclude this special sitting by formally declaring the 2026 legal year to be open. Thank you very much. Yes.